It was a Friday evening when I found it. I had gotten home from work late, exhausted, wanting nothing more than a quiet night. My wife, Emily, was in the bedroom, scrolling through her phone like she always did. I walked into the living room, tossed my keys onto the counter, and reached for my phone charger. But the one plugged into the outlet wasn't mine. That stopped me cold. We were an iPhone family. Both of us had iPhones, our chargers scattered around the house, always tangled up in drawers or lying around where we left them. But the one in my hand was different, a Samsung charger. I frowned. Hey, did someone come over today? She didn't look up from her phone. What? I held up the charger. It's not ours. She hesitated, just for a second, then forced a laugh. Oh, maybe it's my coworker's. She stopped by earlier. The words felt wrong. Forced. Like she had pieced them together at the last second. I nodded slowly, setting the charger down. The first crack had formed. That night, as Emily lay beside me in bed, breathing evenly, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. The charger wasn't the problem, it was what it represented. An unfamiliar object in our home. A stranger's presence. And the way Emily had dismissed it so effortlessly. I had never doubted her before. But suddenly, I couldn't stop. And I needed to know the truth. The next day, I started watching. Emily had routines, habits I had never thought twice about before. But now, every little thing seemed different. She laughed at texts more often. She stayed late at work, even on days when she used to rush home. She turned her phone screen away when I walked by. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I dug deeper. I checked our bank statements, something I rarely did. 2 unexplained hotel charges. I told myself it could be anything. A work event. A booking for a friend. But deep down, I knew better. Then, I did something I never thought I would do. I checked her phone. She was asleep, her breathing steady. My heart pounded as I unlocked it. Her passcode was the same one she'd always used. Too easy. And then, there it was. A name I didn't recognize. Texts. Flirty, teasing, some more explicit than I could stomach. They talked about meeting up. About the last time. About the next time. The room felt like it was spinning. My hands were cold, my vision blurring as I scrolled, reading message after message of my wife loving another man. I put the phone down, staring at her in the dim light. She looked peaceful, content, completely unaware that I had just watched our marriage die. I didn't wake her up, didn't scream, didn't demand answers. She had made her choice. Now, it was my turn. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing. Confrontation wouldn't satisfy me. What would be the point? She'd deny it, cry, beg for another chance. I wasn't interested in any of that. I wanted her to feel the loss. Emily loved comfort. She loved our life, the stability, the vacations, the expensive dinners. She loved the security I gave her. So I was going to take it all away. First, I made the purchase. I had always wanted to travel. To escape, to disappear for a while, to see the world. Emily had always shut the idea down. Maybe next year. Maybe when we're older. Maybe never. But now, nothing was stopping me. I emptied a large portion of our joint savings. First-class flights. Luxury hotels. Everything I had ever wanted to do but had held back from. She didn't deserve a single penny of it. Next, I booked my trip. 2 months abroad. By the time she figured out what I had done, I would already be gone. And then, the final piece, the video. I set up my phone, looking directly into the camera, my face calm, controlled. Hey, Emily, I said. By the time you see this, I'll be halfway across the world. I smiled, slow and deliberate. I know everything. I know about the hotel bookings, the texts, the calls. I know who he is. I leaned forward. And I hope he was worth it. The thought of her watching this, alone, realizing she had lost everything, made my chest tighten with satisfaction. I exhaled. I used the money. Our money. Or should I say, my money. I figured, why let it go to waste? I'll be gone for 2 months. You? Well, I'm sure you'll figure something out. I let the silence stretch before delivering the final blow. I left the charger on the kitchen counter. The one that started all of this. Maybe one day, you'll learn to cover your tracks better. I ended the recording. Saved it. Scheduled it to send the morning after I left. And then, I packed my bags. The morning of my flight, Emily kissed me goodbye like nothing was wrong. Like our life wasn't about to shatter. I looked at her one last time, soaking in the image of the woman I had once loved, the woman who had ruined everything. The first few days of my trip were surreal. I woke up in a luxury hotel in Paris, a city I had always dreamed of visiting but never thought I'd see. The air smelled different, crisp with the scent of fresh bread and coffee drifting through the open window. For the first time in years, I felt something I had long forgotten. Freedom. I spent my mornings walking through the streets, my days visiting landmarks, and my evenings drinking wine on balconies overlooking rivers and city lights. And yet, she was always in the back of my mind. Emily. The message I had scheduled would have sent by now. I pictured her reaction, the way her face would twist with confusion, then realization, then horror. I imagined her trying to call me, only to find her number blocked. I should have felt complete satisfaction. But something was missing. On my fourth night, I found myself sitting alone in a quiet bar near my hotel, nursing a drink. The place was small, cozy, with soft jazz playing in the background. I had been keeping to myself, avoiding conversations, but that changed when she walked in. She was American, like me. I could tell by the way she scanned the room, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings with curiosity. She sat at the bar a few seats away, ordering a whiskey neat. There was something about her, confident but warm, observant but relaxed. She caught me looking, smirked, then lifted her glass. Drinking alone in Paris? I chuckled. Guilty. She moved to the seat next to mine. Same here. She extended a hand. Sophia. Daniel. I shook it. We talked. It was easy, too easy. I didn't mention Emily, and she didn't ask too many questions. She had been traveling for a month now, on her own, just because she wanted to. There was no one waiting for her back home, no ties holding her down. At some point, she glanced at my empty glass. Want another round? I hesitated. Then, for the first time since leaving, I smiled. Yeah, I think I do. One night, we sat on the steps by the Seine, the city lights reflecting off the water. She had noticed something in me, something I hadn't admitted out loud. You're running from something, she said softly. I exhaled, staring out at the river. Then, finally, I told her. I told her everything. About Emily. The charger. The texts. The betrayal. The revenge. When I finished, I braced myself for judgment. For her to say I had gone too far, that I should have handled it differently. But she didn't. She just let out a long breath and shook her head. Wow. She really thought she could get away with it. I turned to her, surprised. You think I did the right thing? She gave me a small smile. I think you did what you had to. And honestly, I think she deserved worse.